Hi guys. Okay, so Taylor and I were supposed to go see The Shape of Water and Black Panther tonight, but because of sort of the way that Taylor's schedule worked out, it ended up not working out for us to go see those movies tonight. So, because this was the last night for The Shape of Water to be at the theater that we go to, I ended up going to see it by myself. So, I'm just going to give you guys some general thoughts on what I thought of this movie. And Taylor and I will be seeing Black Panther tomorrow. So, for starters, I should say that Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors of all time. I love Kronos, I love Pan's Labyrinth, I love The Devil's Backbone, I even love The Book of Life. I really, really, really like Guillermo del Toro. And Crimson Peak, while it's not like the most fantastic movie in the entire world, was still a visually stunning movie. And so I was so excited when I figured out, or when I realized that there was a movie coming out that had Guillermo del Toro's name attached to it. And even better when I figured out he was directing it. This is The Shape of Water. So The Shape of Water, like I said, the same with Crimson Peak, is a visually stunning movie. There's not a shot in this movie that I did not love. It's gorgeous. The settings, although they're really drab and sort of desaturated almost, are still just visually stunning and really, really beautiful to look at. It's very fairy tale-like, just like Pan's Labyrinth. It's just it's like a feast for the eyes. You just can't look away because everything that you see in this movie is gorgeous. And it's in this setting, kind of like 50s, 60s, sort of Cold War era, where there's a lot of things going on. Like you've got like civil rights going on, and just the sort of treatment of people that didn't fit into the norm of what society thought that people ought to be. And so you've got the main character, who is a mute woman who she goes and she does her job, and she just sees the world in a way that is very unique and beautiful. And everything about Sally Hawkins' character, she is a princess. When you watch this movie, everything about her mannerisms, the way that she interacts with other people, the way that she sees the world, and the way that she creates the environment in that world, it is just a visual implication and emotional implication that she is a princess. She is more than a human being. She's principled, and she's beautiful, not just the way that she looks. She is just inwardly beautiful, and everything that she does is just symbolic of how she is this representation of this fairy tale princess that Guillermo del Toro is trying to construct. And so I really, really, really love the character that Sally Hawkins was able to create, and the way that she was able to convey herself, especially since she doesn't technically speak in this movie, because again, she's mute, but there's a fantasy scene where she has like a musical number. But everything outside of that is, even though you're not hearing her voice, you're feeling everything that she's feeling, and you get these emotions that she's trying to convey just through the way that she's moving her body, and the way that she is really like doing the signs. And she's able to do some really funny things with this, and she's able to do some just absolutely heart-wrenching she has such a heart-wrenching performance in some of the parts of this movie that I think she totally deserves the Oscar for like Best Actress for this year, because she was phenomenal in this movie. Absolutely perfect, especially since she doesn't talk, and she was able to create this presence without saying a single word. She was fantastic. And then you've got her neighbor, whose name I am blanking on, but he is a gay man in this sort of era, like I said, where people are expected to conform to the norm of what the typical person is expected to be, this sort of like manly man. And the character that he creates, you're very sympathetic to everything that he's going through, and he he is just sort of moving between the regrets of the things he didn't do with his past and the things he did do with his past and how he can change his future. And this character, because of the experiences that he has and because he's this very understanding, beautiful character, he's able to finally come to grips with what Sally Hawkins' character is needing from him, and it makes his character very dynamic. And even before some of the stuff that happens in this movie, he just starts out as an amazing character, and he's very interesting to watch, and he's a fantastic narrator, and he's the kind of person that you would want as a friend. Just absolutely fantastic. I loved everything about the way that he performed in this movie, because he was really, really good. I loved all the characters in this movie. It was so good. And speaking of really good friends, Octavia Spencer's character, who really starts out this movie, I felt she was super underutilized in the beginning of this movie, because she's sort of the sassy black friend who has all the quippy lines and always kind of complaining, and she's sort of stereotypical in that sense. But once you get closer to the end of this movie, she has a scene that is really strong and really, I can't even put it into words, because the way that she conveys some of the things that she has to do in these final scenes, the emotional impact of what happens and how she feels in relation to other characters, she's really good. And I think that once you get to the end of it, they finally gave her a part that she could really sink her teeth into, and this is the part that she deserved the entire movie, because she's such a great actress, and I can't believe she was so underutilized in the beginning. That's the one big complaint that I have with this movie, is that she was so severely underutilized. And then you've got Michael Shannon, who is terrifying in this movie. He is sort of this image of everything that he does is to conform to this ideal of what a man in this era ought to be. This sort of straight-laced, manly man, man's man kind of guy who he's terrifying. He comes off as sort of this like friendly everyman, but underneath you get this very uneasy feeling in his character, and as the movie goes on, he just becomes more and more unhinged, while also toward like the middle end still being able to maintain this sort of decorum that is terrifying, because he's this manly man who's gonna get stuff done, and he's got his idea of what needs to be done, and that's what he's gonna do. And so he's one of these characters that till the end he is trying to live up to this ideal of what a man ought to be in this time, and it just drives him crazy. And I think he's a really good representation of the fact that this running theme in Guillermo del Toro movies, where man is the greatest monster, that sort of thing. In this movie, he is the monster. He is not the one that you would figure, given the monologue in the beginning of the movie where they're talking about monsters. That's him. That's who you need to look out for, because he comes at you with these ideals, but at the end of the day, he's the bad guy. This is the person that people were looking up to be. This is the person that people were modeling themselves after. But at the end of the day, that's not always a good thing. So really loved his performance. He was really scary, but also this kind of creepy everyman sort of character. Very good. Probably like the second best performance in this movie. I thought he was really great. There's also Bob, who is the character that engages in espionage, and I'll leave that there. I believed his character. I believe that he strongly felt felt connected to what he was there to do, that he was actually one of the more principled characters in the way that he was there to actually do his job, and it was everybody else that was getting in the way of that. Like, man's greed kept getting in the way of him being able to do what he wanted to do. Another thing that I did not like about this movie had something to do with his character, where he gives up information rather easily in this movie. I kind of wish that he had kept that information to himself, but no, not really. So again, yeah, this is a great continuation of the Guillermo del Toro message that man is the greatest monster, and it's man that you have to look out for, not the people that you imagine to be the bad guy. Really great movie. The music that they used in this movie was used to perfection. It was perfectly suited to this sort of fairy tale charm, while also being romantic in ways that you hadn't really been anticipating, because you don't go into a movie like this like, I'm rooting for that fish and that woman, but the way that the story is told, you do feel affection and care for these two characters. And at the end of the day, this was a great movie. Do I love it as much as Pan's Labyrinth? No. But still a visually stunning movie. Probably my second favorite of the Guillermo del Toro films. What can I say? I liked it. If you have an opportunity to go see this and you haven't seen it in a theater yet, I recommend seeing it in the theater, because the cinematography, in my opinion, is extremely beautiful. And I think being able to see this on the big screen will really make more of an impact visually for you. But if you don't get the opportunity, I still recommend renting it, because the characters and the story are good enough that you're still going to want to see it. So I'm going to give this probably like 93%. I really loved it. It's not a 100%er for me, but it was really good. So what did you guys think? If you saw the movie, please leave comments below giving me kind of your ideas on what you thought of this movie. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow when Taylor and I go see Black Panther. Bye!